right, boys and girls, welcome back. Sam's Army Summer Soccer Silly Season, episode number 8. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to start with the Club World Cup. Got to give Chelsea their flowers. Halftime will be a PSG and Lyon related weekly What If. Around the world, we will touch on maybe some transfer chatter, FIFA, fist effing Crystal Palace, and MLS Minute with the Minuteman himself, of course. Then stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now, time to welcome in this week's panel of beauties, and it is the gruesome twosome here. We got a lot of people on the road in the middle of the summer doldrums, but we do have Tyler Terrens. And I do not think that anybody needs to be, you don't have to guess where he is right now. He's in Minnesota, of course. So you can't usually, ask him the usual question. What's Minnesota like? We all know. I was going to say hot, but it's actually not that hot right now. So his introductory question for Mr. Tyler Terrens. Your 18th birthday. 18th birthday parties were all the rage this week, and I'm sure it will come up at some point. How did you celebrate your 18th birthday, Mr. Terrens?
It wasn't as extravagant or controversial as Lamine Yamal, but I do remember I was working at a summer camp. It was for the Boys and Girls Club of Newark, and they would bus these kids from like inner city Newark out to like middle of nowhere New Jersey, 25, 30 minutes away out in the sticks. And I was like, I worked in the bike shop, and like I tried to teach kids how to ride bikes at that camp. And I remember spending my birthday there. But then I went to, I don't know if it was exactly on the day of my birthday or not, but I went to a party of a girl who was going into her freshman year of college with a bunch of my high school basketball teammates, a couple of whom are older, and that's how I got the invite. I didn't become a man on that night, but I did do I did do some manly things that evening, right around the time of my birthday. I don't think it was my birthday exactly, but anyway, yeah.
It's the perfect time to become a man on your 18th birthday. You became.
That's what I'm saying. Again, it wasn't then, but yeah.
You painted enough of a picture. I think we got it there. Well, congratulations. I don't know what I did on my 18th birthday other than buy a Swisher Sweet. I remember buying a Swisher Sweet just because I could, because I was now 18 and they would allow me to, and I wanted to double check to make sure that they did or something. They let me buy it.
Did you go see the first movie in color as well, and a movie ticket for 50 cents and a hot dog for a nickel?
You guys paint me as this guy that was born in the 40s. I was born. I can't tell you when I was born, and you'll date me. But listen, it was color TV was well established. MTV was well established. I'm not that old. God damn it. Someday I'll just have to actually say how old I am. People will be like, "Oh, you're not that old. You're not that old." Or they'll be like, "You old dinosaur." Whatever. Anyway, before we get into our first topic of the day, of the week, we got to give a quick word to our good friends over at Kick It, the one-stop shop for all your soccer tennis needs. Tyler Terrens, what do people got to know about Kick It?
It's hot. It's steamy. Everybody's engaged in this summer of soccer, and what better way to do it than with Kick It? Code SAM25 gets you 10% off of the basic soccer tennis set. God bless our friends over at Kick It. God bless the beautiful game, and God bless all of you who have already purchased it. And for those of you who haven't, go and do so now, because before you know it, it's going to be Labor Day. Summer's going to be over. We're going to be freezing our you-know-what's off again, and you're going to be wishing that you were able to go outside and play a little Kick It with your boys with Pacifico in your hand. Not an official sponsor of the podcast, just simply a metaphorical sponsor, as Sam takes a nice big swig at 1:45 Central Time on a Wednesday. But hey, that's what we do on the.
It's tradition. It's tradition.
Kickit.net, code SAM25, 10% off basic soccer tennis set.
Kickit.net. Well done. And shout out to them. All right. Club World Cup. I hate it and I miss it. It's the dichotomy of life. It's a strange emotions I'm feeling at this moment. Now, before we actually talk about the tournament, let's talk about the final. Wow. What is going on? Trump and Chelsea lift the Club World Cup. Yes, we will get to the celebrations, which were post-game was crazy. But the game itself was actually just as crazy in a low-key sense. PSG, the world beaters, the Champions League champs, come in and lost to Chelsea. I don't know. I don't think a lot of people saw this coming. 3-0, no less. Chelsea, in my mind, they just came out and just kind of out physicaled PSG. That kind of bully balled them. I don't know. What did you think of that final, Tyler?
I think you saw PSG run out of steam. I do. I think you saw PSG have their best performance of the tournament against Real Madrid, arguably. I think you saw a Chelsea group who very much have something to prove. I think you saw. I think you saw. It's not a sign of things to come. I'm not buying into that BS. Like Chelsea's now like the force to be reckoned with and whatever. But I do think that like even Cole Palmer said it on camera. There was a video circulating of like one of the social media admins for Chelsea asking him, like, how do you feel? And he goes, honestly, mate, knackered. Like, all these guys were exhausted. And PSG looked tired. And it just looked like they didn't have the same level of press and same level of intensity that we saw throughout the course of the tournament. And a lot of those guys went from winning a Champions League to playing in Nations League finals and semifinals to immediately into Club World Cup and traveling all over the United States and ultimately culminating on a hot day at MetLife Stadium. So I don't know. For me, it was just PSG got caught on an off day, which like hasn't really happened since November. They've been the best team in the world. So congrats to Chelsea who caught them on a bad day. And I'm still not convinced by this Chelsea team. They'll finish in top 4, but not overly convinced.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I think a lot of people came away from that being like, "Oh, Chelsea, the title contenders. If they could beat PSG." No. It did feel like they ran through this tournament. Chelsea did fine. Like I don't want to take anything away from them, but if you look at their road to the final,
10 times easier. 10 times.
Right? They played LAFC, Palmeiras. And this is not in order, but all three Brazilian clubs. Which, granted, that's not nothing. No, they were there and they came to play.
It was like it was like they were on the side of the bracket in March Madness where they ended up beating, UNC, Asheville, Belmont, and then Murray State to get to an Elite Eight. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't the same thing that PSG had to go through. And you can only play who's in front of you. And again, like you said, like I'm not here to take anything away from them, but I'm not making any overarching conclusions that Chelsea are now Chelsea are the defending champions of the world and everyone needs to bow down to Conference League and Club World Cup winning Chelsea. Like that's not what I'm here to do.
Conference League, winning Chelsea. So this was their road. They beat LAFC. They actually lost to Flamengo. They beat Esperance, beat Benfica, beat Palmeiras, beat Fluminense, and then PSG. The post-game festivities, shall we call them, were actually talked about probably more than the game itself. And before we even get to the trophy lift, which was just absolutely bonkers, as you would expect anytime Trump's involved, there was that fight at the end of the game, which seems to it almost got also overlooked because of the trophy lifting. But if you look at it, Luis Enrique, who by all accounts is the great guy, he's kind of a dick. I mean, he kind of, who was it? João Pedro. He kind of gave João Pedro a little shove in the face or in the neck. I didn't see that until about the fourth replay. But yeah, that was kind of an ugly little scene. I guess I just put it down to PSG have not lost in how many ever?
Broke their brains. They
didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do. You lose the first time in like 6 months. It just seemed like sour grapes, obviously. Oh God! Now where do we go with this celebration trophy lift? I mean, they just.
I almost don't want to talk about it.
I just want to give Trump a little bit of credit because
what?
I don't even think that he had this plan in his mind. I think he just grabbed the trophy, handed it over to who the hell? Oh, Reece James, and then just stood there and was like, I love people cheering. There's people cheering. Okay, I like this. I like this situation a lot. And then he's just kind of looking around like an old dude that has not been to a lot of trophy lifts and just sort of loving it. And he's like, Infantino's telling him to go. he's like, nah, I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna chill right here. I enjoy this.
Everyone
Lifted
was
it.
telling him to go. Everyone.
Everyone except for Richard Sanchez.
No, Sanchez. No, Sanchez was trying to say to him, like he
Was
was
he?
trying to help Gianni Infantino.
The
Everybody, Cole Palmer's face while the trophy is going up, and while
I was
he's
gonna
being
say there was one person who was real pissed, and that was
yeah,
Cole
because
Palmer.
he's standing in front of him.
I know.
Are you shitting me? Like, is this real? This man is not a real person. He's not a real person.
Neither is Cole Palmer though. So the two of them together
Agreed.
is.
I like the memes of like, there's 5 brain cells in this picture when Trump was like congratulating Cole Palmer on player of the tournament. They all belong to Cole Palmer was incredible. But I will say the only defense that I'll come, like you said, he hasn't been to many trophy lifts, if any. I don't think that he realized that is the biggest no-no of all time for anybody other than the team to be a part of the trophy lift.
Yeah.
Like the president of FIFA, who is arguably like maybe the most egocentric man on the face of the planet, outside of a few, I'm not going to name them, but I don't know, maybe whatever. Not going there. Political correspondent. I need to do my due diligence. Like he even got out of the way, and the trophy was named after him, and he was like, you know what? It's not for me. I don't need to be here. But President of the United States does, because like you said, people are clapping. I'm part of a celebration. There are winners around. I'm a winner.
I like this.
Yeah, let's just do it.
People are clapping. I'm enjoying this. Keep people. You know what it really means, though? The trophy lift next summer in 2026 at the World Cup is going to be the most anticipated and closely watched trophy lift in the history of the world.
He'll make a joke out of it, and he'll be like, apparently I wasn't supposed to be there. Like, I'll get out of the way this time. I'm pretty confident that like he got killed by his team for it. Whether that means anything or not is irrelevant, and whether or not he's going to listen. My guess is that he will not be a part of the trophy lift when Christian Pulisic is hoisting the 2026 World Cup.
Good detail, good tweet, good nuance. I really hope they some odds makers actually put money on this. I would actually love to bet on that. I'd probably take the other side.
I would sign up. I would sign up for Trump being a part of that picture if it meant that the U.S. men's national team would win the World Cup. I'd sign the dotted line right now.
Oh, yesterday I would sign that. Last thing before we get to a bigger picture question about the Club World Cup, I have to say this: Cucurella. Like, I know people talk a lot about him. He dives. He's kind of a dick and all. Off the field, people say nice things about him. His hair is unfair. It's not a performance enhancer. It's a performance diminisher for all of his opponents. His hair is not fair. You cannot play the way he plays. Dive, do these little cheap shots, the way he got Joao Neves, and have that hair. Because you are physically incapable of not grabbing that hair. If he just comes up to you off the ball, the way that Joao Neves did, like he came in and gave, Cucurella, gave Neves just a shoulder barge off the ball in like his throat. And that person who just shoulder barged you is going to run away, and his hair is essentially being thrown in your face. You are physically incapable of not grabbing that hair. There is no person in this world who would not have grabbed Cucurella's hair in the way that Joao Neves did. So here's my rule.
You're not actually defending this, are you?
I 100% believe this. Whether I'm defending it, I don't know, but I believe this. You either have to not play like a little cheap shotting, diving dick, the way that Cucurella is, or you're not allowed to have that hair. You one of those two. You cannot have both. You cannot have that hair and do what he does on the field. It's not fair. It should be illegal, and FIFA needs to work on this, because that's insane.
Well, if we know,
I would have done what Neves did. I would have grabbed his head too.
If we know anything about FIFA, 100%. It's that they deal really well with injustices, and they always do the right thing. So no, yeah, I agree. They'll definitely sort this out for sure.
Cut your hair, you diving hippie. All right, Club World Cup, big picture. Better or worse than expected?
I think on par with what I expected. Like, there was a million games on. There was soccer every single day, and it was fun to have that soccer on and to see certain U.S. stadiums housing these teams from all over the world, and particularly some of the biggest names. I think that the early on group stage games kind of fell flat, particularly in some of the cities where the teams aren't going to have a big following or whatever. It picked up in the groups in the knockout round stages, and especially towards the quarterfinals and semifinals. Logistically, it was a disaster, but I don't think anybody expected anything else other than that. Yeah, I mean, I think it was just it was a tournament in its infancy, in its inaugural season, with plenty of flaws. But listen, man, like the concept of every single of the best club teams in the world, and you can argue with me until you're blue in the face about like what the metrics were in order to get in and what the requirements were to get in until we're blue in the face, and I'll argue them with you. But this tournament should have existed years ago, and not in the way that it typically was, which is with like 5 teams and 1 from each federation. Like, this makes sense. Of course, there should be some sort of competition featuring the best club teams in the world. And it's a beautiful thing. And like the Auckland City story was great. And I think that, you know, seeing the different supports around the country from Urawa and, you know, whatever, like it was really, really cool from like a cultural footballing standpoint. I do think that there's a lot of things that they need to sort out, including criteria for entering the tournament. But on par with what I expected. A lot of flaws, fun to have the soccer on, gives us something else to talk about during the summer. But if I'm a player and I'm Chelsea or PSG or Real Madrid or whatever, and I just endured that, and now you got 2 weeks to take off until you have to report for preseason. Was it worth it? I don't know, man. I really don't know. They would need to be the ones to say it or not say it. But those bank accounts sure don't hurt right now, because those guys will go on their vacations with an extra, you know, 5 to 10 million in their pocket, depending on how much the players actually get. So
yeah, I have no idea what they actually give. The clubs themselves, their finances are looking pretty nice at this point. In Chelsea, you know, they can buy another 96 players. I do think so. I loved. There's just good soccer on. You know, the games themselves were good. Like, you know, we can't deny that. I don't like the concept of the tournament. I don't like the fact that FIFA essentially made Gold Cup like a second class tournament, kind of shat on that. I don't like the fact that, you know, we're basically giving these guys zero rest. And I'll get to that in a second, but I just did love more soccer. I mean, I'm a sucker for that. I got my ethics, I got my morals, but at the end of the day, when there's good soccer on, I'm probably going to be watching.
Do you? I don't think that they shit on Gold Cup. I mean, I think it's just unfortunate timing that it was when it was, and you couldn't have it any other time, right? I mean, like obviously having it in this year right before the World Cup, I think was obviously planned. But then as far as like the summer schedule was concerned, the further you move it back to avoid Gold Cup, the closer it is to preseason, and then there's no break.
Yeah, and I don't think they proactively or consciously was like, you know what, fuck Gold Cup. There's nowhere else to play that. There's no other time.
But the requirement to have players defer country and play for club, that I don't like. That needs to change. You should be able to decide. And especially with World Cup qualifying coming into play in September, like the guys who were supposed, like Nathan Ordaz of LAFC is a perfect example. He's one of the best players on El Salvador. El Salvador is entering World Cup qualifying in September. And if the U.S. wasn't hosting the World Cup, Gold Cup would have been taken way more seriously with the final rounds of World Cup qualifying coming up in September. But Nathan Ordaz was forced to play in the Club World Cup with LAFC. Sure, a good experience. Got to play against Chelsea. Got to play against Flamengo, I think. But he should be playing with his country. It's more important for him to be playing with his country as opposed to this made up whatever that happens. And sure, every tournament is made up and everything is made up and we're all made up and society's made up. But like, you can't be asking players to not play for the country. It's the highest honor in our game, bar none. And I'm sorry, whatever you name the trophy, whether it's the Pele Trophy, the Messi Trophy, or the Gianni Infantino Trophy, whatever you're cooking up is not more important than representing your country. So for me, that needs to change because I think that that's bullshit. Maybe it was just a first year thing, but that's one of my biggest gripes on top of the logistics, and then also the criteria for which you qualify for the tournament, because that's just, it's not fair.
Yeah, and
That's
I mean, obviously, not having Barcelona or Liverpool at this tournament, in a way, it sort of cheapens it a little bit. You don't have the best teams there, but the other person I'll throw in there was Gio Reyna. The fact he had to go with Dortmund didn't. I mean, I don't know how many, maybe you say like 10 minutes during the entire Club World Cup, and he could have gone and played with the U.S. men's national team for Gold Cup, where we could have used him, I think. So yeah, I agree with you there. The one thing I'll say about the Club World Cup, because there's going to be nothing pushing against this tournament. The only thing that could, the fly in the ointment, sort of longer term, is if these teams, the Bayerns, the Chelseas, the PSGs, who played a lot of games, played a lot of extra games, had a lot of less rest than a lot of other teams, if those teams come out in this next season and just underperform almost across the board, obviously if there's an injury, sort of a bunch of injuries to these teams, that's something that really could, people will take that into account, thinking about this tournament and how it's played, how they go about it, that sort of thing. I think that's the only real thing that could trip this tournament up. No, I mean, like at this point, it's established. They've done it once. They made a shit ton of money. I just assume this is going to
no, I
happen
mean,
again and again now.
listen, there was talks of strikes or whatever that charge was being led by Rodri, who ends up tearing his ACL for what you can only imagine to be, you know, being overworked following winning the Euros and then tearing it in the ensuing beginning of the season. You know what I mean? So like that was already in motion. And I think that there are going to be teams that are going to struggle out of the gates. I think that there are going to be players that are going to pick up injuries. And that's just sort of what's going to happen. Nothing's going to change because once you put this money in the pockets of the people who are responsible for putting these tournaments on, you're not taking the money back out. That does not go back into the bottle. It's just not how these guys work. It's not how life works. So as much as I agree with you and as much as I think that we need to scale back the amount of games, and like, we're people who, or at least I'm somebody who makes a living off of games and off of events happening, but like I'm happy to sit back and A, take some time off, and B, if there's a little bit of money that doesn't even go into my own pocket, if it means that the product isn't diluted with these guys being overworked, and the product is overall better because guys are staying healthy and guys are fresher when they're on the pitch, because without them there is no game. So, and same goes for the supporters, and you can say the same thing, but yeah, I don't disagree with you. It just ain't going to change. It's just as simple as that.
Peaches in the Discord chat just threw two comments. Kind of dull after the group stages, in my opinion. I thought the knockouts were fun. There wasn't the pageantry. There wasn't, like, we didn't have the Egyptian teams and the teams from Asia and all this sort of thing. So there was a little less of that. She also said the atmosphere was pretty wank for a lot of the matches. That's true, and I don't know if there's any getting away from that, just because of the way that FIFA wanted to have these games on in prime time for European audiences and other audiences in Asia and Africa. So I don't know if there's any getting away from that. I don't know. Overall, I thought it went pretty well. I'll give Infantino a little bit of credit. I thought the tournament was played. Tournament play was good. The atmospheres were as good as could be expected in a big country that isn't necessarily soccer obsessed, and that sort of thing. So I'll give him a little grace on that. Now Tyler will be back in 1 second. His connection. His connection went down. He's at a hotel in Minneapolis. Remind everybody. Next up, by the way, we're going to go to the weekly What If. And I told you guys I was going to do a PSG and Lyon weekly What If, which was going to be related to the fact that PSG agreed to speed up the payments of the Barcola transfer. So the money that they owed Lyon was supposed to be paid over a number of different years, and PSG agreed to speed up those payments so that they could give Lyon a lump sum and then help Lyon which, typically you would think of as sort of a rival for the league and trophy, like they would help them avoid sort of the financial problems they were in and thus relegation. Oh, there he is. You still got 1 3 dot one, and then we got you, but you're back.
Reason number 17,346,922 why I hate Minnesota.
They don't have Wi-Fi. I got to work on this. All right. Well, as I very slowly told people, we're going to switch up the weekly what if. And we're going to move away from the PSG and Lyon, and we're going to go to Gio Reyna, which came to my mind as we were talking about the Club World Cup there, because his situation is not good. Just think back a couple years ago, and he was, not just in pen in our best 11, but we had these high hopes he was going to take over the sort of the mantelpiece of the American soccer player from Christian Pulisic. Well, that plan is not going to plan at the moment, and he cannot even get in the Dortmund side in the Club World Cup, so he obviously needs to move away. The last I have heard is that MLS is at the top of the list of where he might end up next, with LAFC being the favorite at the moment. So, Tyler, give me a best case scenario and give me, which is, weekly what if. So give me the best case hypothetical, but also give me where you think he's actually going to end up.
Oh boy. Best case scenario is that he goes to any top division almost in any country and plays and starts immediately. Whether that's in MLS, whether that's in Belgium, whether that's in the Netherlands, wherever. He just needs to go and play. Worst case scenario, I think, is he goes somewhere and doesn't play, right? And it's the same shit. He has a bad attitude, which apparently seems to be a recurring theme with Gio, unfortunately. Because at this point, we all know how talented he is, and the only common denominator is Gio.
All right. Technical difficulties have been, at least temporarily, dealt with. We're going to have to talk to our local Wi-Fi providers in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area and have a sternly worded conversation with them. But at the moment, we are at halftime. And the question for you, Tyler, is Gio Reyna related. Where would you, 2 questions, hypothetically, if you could just put him on a team, decide where he goes next, you decide. Best case scenario, and then where do you think he's going to go?
LAFC.
MLS. Is that best case or is that realistic?
It's my best case, and honestly, I feel like at this point I was banging on the MLS drum in January. I was been saying this for months. The dude needs to go play, and he needs to go play for somebody who's not going to take any of his shit, because apparently there's a lot of it. How many coaches now have just sort of thrown up their hands and been like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't care how talented he is, whatever. He needs a character reset. He needs a coach who's just simply not going to have any of it and who's going to be willing to work with him, but also at the same time understands his level of talent. Is Steve Cherundolo not a good person to do that with him right now? A former teammate of his dad's? And somebody who, at least for my money when I watch him coach, he can do it with a soft hand and he can do it with a hard hand. So I think, Steve's only going to be there until the end of the year, but I think that LAFC has a DP spot open. I don't even know if he's worth a DP spot at this point in time, given all of his issues. But MLS, 100,000%. Go and be the guy, but go and do it for a coach who is going to sort of help you develop as a professional, because he clearly needs that. But he needs somebody who's going to be willing to work with him and a team that can't afford to not play him. The teams that he's looking at right now and the teams that he's thinking about going to can afford to sort of say, okay, we'll bring you in for X. But we have 2 or 3 other players who can probably do the work that you're doing and do it without as much of a headache. And if an MLS team's going to spend a DP spot on him, they have to give him a chance. And they have to work with him. So I think that would be the best case scenario.
Okay. I like it. Good answer. Let's move on to Round the World, where we'll do some quick transfer chatter, because there's a lot out there. Most of it, as I've said time and time again over the years. 97%, 99% is bullshit. But there's some real news out there, including Tottenham Hotspur. What is going on with this team at the moment? We're signing all the 10s in the world at the moment with Kudus and Morgan Gibbs-White. And this is, it feels like Levy is like making up for us not playing with a real 10 for like years and years and years. And now we've got like, Madison, we got Morgan Gibbs-White, we got Kudus. I love it. I'm a little nervous because, there's all this talk about how guys like Romero could go. And if we got this, sort of baller midfield and it's shit defense, that would be a terrible combination. But like, I'm excited. I'm excited that Levy's willing to spend money. It feels like it's not my team. Like, I don't really recognize this team anymore. We're spending big amounts of money. We're winning trophies. This is not my Tottenham. This is not the Tottenham I know and love. I do love it. Don't get me wrong, but it just makes me a little nervous. Just a little nervous. I don't know. Do you got any thoughts on the new Tottenham, new age Tottenham here?
I don't know. I just feel like it's new age Tottenham, but it's same old bullshit, right? Like, and I think that the occasional throwing around of money hasn't necessarily totally been like out of the ordinary, right? Like Solanke, was for a pretty penny. Kulusevski was for a pretty
too much.
Sure, whatever. Everybody's too much. Darwin Nunez was too much. Madueke is too much. Isak's too much. Everybody's too much.
Isak's not
but
too much.
No. So there's just no price tag that would make Isak overpriced. Zero. 130
for what
million for Isak.
For what somebody's going to end up paying for him, if anybody ends up paying it. I just think he's a game changer, and there's only so many guys like that. He's a guy that will win you
proper
games
number
by
nines
himself, and
proper number nines are a dying breed for a reason. They're not valued as much within systems, or maybe they just don't exist anymore. But anyway, I'm excited to see what you guys have in store for this year. I really am. I think it could be a total epic failure.
You say your entire demeanor right now is just dripping with like, this is cute. This is cute what they're doing.
It is cute comparatively to what we.
You guys might like actually look like a fourth place team.
Maybe.
You're such a jerk. Such a jerk. I figured we'd have some Arsenal for some Gooners, some Tweedles on here, so I was going to ask them about Madueke, and perhaps Gyökeres. It sounds like the Gyökeres' deal is on and off and on and off. So I'll ask you, since you asked me, what do you think about all the rumors about Isak?
I think what Newcastle is doing is big brain stuff, because they're basically saying, like, you buy Isak and we'll take Edekite, or we're not going to sell Isak and we'll take Edekite. Like, so that's number one. Number two is that, yes, I think he would fit perfectly into slot system. Not even slot system, anybody's system. He's a fantastic footballer. He does everything right. He works hard. He can finish. He's got a good head on his shoulders. You never really hear about him having any issues or anything like that. I would love to have him. And if all of a sudden Liverpool, with John Henry recognizing that the Dodgers are this sort of like unbeatable franchise in Major League Baseball, and Red Sox and Liverpool are hand in glove. If John Henry's not going to spend money on the Red Sox and he's willing to spend it on Liverpool, then by all means, let's be big spenders and let's go get him and let's go win, 4 out of the next 5 Premier League trophies. I'm all for it. But we also have been very successful with the current model that we have had in place. I fear that with an Isak signing of 130 million, we might go too far in the other direction. I wouldn't be complaining about the player that we're getting, but just the precedent that we're setting of where we are in the market. Because if that were to change, going back to that is very, very difficult. When your whole club is revolving around trying to do things at that top level on the cheap-ish, right? Liverpool's still spending money. Similar to what I was talking about earlier, that's more difficult to put back into the bottle than to become a team that, is steadily spending, as opposed to big spenders. Okay, we're going to come back down to earth now that Shohei Ohtani, needed ACL surgery and the Dodgers aren't good anymore, and we think that we can win World Series type thing. And you can laugh at me all you want talking about baseball, but the fact of the matter is that the Red Sox have a direct impact on Liverpool, which has a direct impact on the Premier League. It's just that simple.
Red Sox fans were apoplectic over the last few weeks when the Liverpool was winning and Liverpool was spending money, and then Red Sox were basically trading away all their best players. Oh god, it was funny. It was a funny moment in the Twitter world. Last thing on the Premier League before we move to our Minute Man segment is FIFA. So this situation with Crystal Palace and Lyon and Nottingham Forest is wild, and it just sucks for Crystal Palace fans and players. Obviously, ownership is the reason they're in this situation, so I don't exactly feel bad for them. But at the end of the day, what FIFA decided, UEFA decided was that Lyon had won their appeal to stay in Ligue 1, which we were going to talk about in our weekly What If, but we skipped it. So they stayed in Ligue 1. That means that they got to keep their spot in the Europa League. And that means that Crystal Palace now got demoted from Europa to the Europa Conference League. And that's because John Textor, who is the owner of Lyon and was the owner of Crystal Palace, or at least a part owner of Crystal Palace as of March 1st. So they can't, you can't have that. I just saw it today. There's some weird thing about, emails. They missed emails, and I don't know if that's actually legitimate or not. But basically, Textor has since sold his stake in Crystal Palace. So now it's kind of this weird, crazy situation where he's not even an owner of Palace. And yet the fact he was an owner on March 1st means that they can't play in this competition, which is absolutely nuts. And
what does March 1st?
Nottingham Forest.
What does March 1st have to do with it? Was that just a random date set by UEFA?
Yes, he needed to be out of the club. He could not be an owner at that. That's when they did the finances and said if you're an owner on March 1st, then, and unfortunately for Palace, they obviously had not won the FA Cup then, so there wasn't really much, looking back, it's a tough situation. It doesn't make any sense, to be honest. I don't understand why it is the way it is. UEFA and FIFA rules, I won't even try and wrap my head around it. But if you're going to have this, first of all, I like the rule. There was these multi-club groups that are sort of growing and expanding, and City and Red Bull and obviously Textor and all these other ones. I like the rule that you can only have one team in a certain competition. But why is it March 1st? Why isn't it July 1st? I guess July 1st might be too late, but June 1st, something, whenever, right as soon as the season ends, that's when you should, and you've established who's going to be, in this different league. I don't know. I mean, in the big picture, I don't mind UEFA and putting its foot down and saying, we got these rules and we got to do, but I don't understand how City got away with, having Girona and Man City. Man City could put their shares in the blind trust, and that or the City group could put them in a blind trust. I don't understand how that was okay. I don't really understand the Salzburg Leipzig, how they got away with it. And then now they're going to put their foot down on a Crystal Palace team who hasn't been, playing in Europe in God knows how long, if ever. So yeah, it just stinks for Palace fans. Obviously, I think at the end of the day, the buck stops with ownership, and, they needed to have this sorted out before, and they didn't. So I don't know. It just stinks. I just feel really bad for Palace fans. At least they still have Europe. At least they're still in the Conference League. And you can make an argument, if you really want to try and, put lipstick on this pig, that you could basically say, well, that they're going to be more of a force in Conference League. So perhaps they could, win that tournament and whatever, which they should be. I mean, they should be a force in that tournament. But it stinks. I mean, Europa is, miles better than Conference League. So anything to add? Move on to MLS Minute.
Yep.
Let's go Minute. Minute Man. We got the Minute Man himself. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've had an MLS hit it and quit it minute. Fill us up, baby.
All right, so we are going to go with Saturday, July 12th is where we're going to begin our journey in Central Florida, where Orlando City with a bad home draw against CF Montreal. For those who haven't been paying attention, CF Montreal is an abysmal. They're a disgrace to the game. They're a disgrace to North American soccer, and the ownership just needs to change. They are just absolutely diabolical, but somehow they find a point against Oscar Pereja and the Lions. And at this point, if you're dropping points to Montreal, you're basically losing or drawing to a USL Championship side. But anyway, I digress. Let's go to another Canadian team, and this time a home team. BMO Field is the destination, and Toronto drawing Atlanta United by a score of 1-1. Atlanta, what is going on? I cannot believe we are through 24 match days, and we're still talking about how bad Atlanta United have been. Speaking of, I'll have their call Atlanta and Charlotte from Mercedes-Benz Stadium this weekend. All right, let's head to the banks of the Delaware River in a big rivalry game between Philadelphia and the Red Bulls. And once again, Bradley Carnell's side continues to be phenomenal this season. 2-0 is the final score against the Red Bulls. Meanwhile, in South Florida, Inter Miami 2-1 over Nashville in a battle of two top 6 teams in the Eastern Conference, and Inter Miami getting the better of BJ Callahan's side thanks to yet another brace from Lionel Messi, make that 5 straight games with at least a brace for the GOAT. Amazing stuff. Meanwhile, Soldier Field, Chicago falling to Anders Dreyer, and I do quite literally mean Anders Dreyer and San Diego FC by a score of 2-1. Dreyer with a brace along the lakefront, and San Diego continue to keep their pace atop of the Western Conference. Speaking of top of the Western Conference, Minnesota United 4, San Jose Earthquakes 1. And Minnesota United are the kings of set pieces of the world of football. If you haven't checked out the Guardian article that sort of details the set piece tribulations and trials and successes of Eric Ramsey's group, then I highly recommend you do so. It's a fascinating article. Minnesota scored 2 goals from set pieces, 2 goals from transition, and win 4-1. Bruce Arena was not a happy camper, but when is he? That man is just grumpy 24/7, and our phone call with him was just so pleasant. He's such a pleasant human being to be around. Anyway, Austin 0, New England 0 over in Texas. Sporting Kansas City fall to the Seattle Sounders by a score of 3-2, although I believe Seattle was up 3-0 in this game, and Sporting Kansas City clawed their way back in. And Hellas Real Derby taking place at TQL Stadium. This is the second edition of Hellas Real this season. The first one in Columbus ended in a 1-1 draw. This one starts out great for the Orange and Blue. 2-0 to begin the game inside of the first 30 minutes, but then Columbus finds 3 goals before halftime. They go up 3-2. They end up winning 4-2. And right now, Wilfred Nancy most certainly having Pat Noonan's number, and this game felt all too familiar from the Eastern Conference Final in 2023, where Cincinnati pissed away a 2-goal lead inside of the final 25 minutes. All right, let's head to the bank, which is, of course, Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, where they defeat NYCFC by a score of 2-0. Meanwhile, in Salt Lake City, RSL take care of business against a mediocre Houston Dynamo side by a score of 1-0. Mile High, Colorado Rapids 3, Vancouver Whitecaps 0. And we're starting to see a little bit of a dip from Jesper Sorensen side, but I still believe in the Whitecaps and everything that they're doing, even if they were to finish at the bottom of the table at this point in time in the West, which they're most certainly not going to because that belongs to Greg Vanney and company. I still would be a huge fan of whatever Vancouver's doing. LA Galaxy 2, DC United 1. It's another win for Greg Vanney and LA Galaxy. Would you believe it? No, you did not. Don't clean out your ears. They actually won another game, and it came at the expense of DC, who, similar to Montreal, ownership has got to change. Again, you can blatantly tell which owners in MLS have been there for too long, need to go elsewhere. And for me, this is just another example of that. And God bless Troy Lesesne, because whatever was going on in DC had nothing to do with him. Pep Guardiola, I do not think, could get that DC United roster to the postseason, but that's just me. LAFC 2, Dallas 0 at BMO Field in downtown Los Angeles. LAFC now 2 wins on the bounce, 2 clean sheets in a row, and they're starting to find their groove. Although Aaron Long sustaining an ACL injury in the middle of that game, he is done for the season. And now LAFC, with an addition to having a DP spot open for the summer transfer window, also will probably go hunting for a starting center back as well, but Nkosi Tafari will slide in, and that's a good option for the black and gold and Steve Cherundolo. Final game on Sunday Night Soccer, St. Louis City 2, Portland 1. So a nice little win for St. Louis City, despite what has been an extremely disappointing season. If I'm going to hammer everybody else, I might as well hammer St. Louis too. They've been really bad, but they do get the win by a score of 2-1. Bad loss for Portland on the road, but that would do it for match day 24 in Major League Soccer. We're recording this on a Wednesday. We got match day 25 coming up on this hump day.
Oh, well done. Well done. It had been a minute. I feel so much more satisfied at the moment. By the way, Peaches and John have been going ham in the Discord chat at the moment. Apologies to them. I didn't see some of their messages that we were talking about, transfers and everything. John said he's not sold on Gyökeres. I actually disagree on that. I'm very afraid that Arsenal will get him. I think he's a great striker. I think he's exactly what they need. I hope that deal does fall through. Peaches was talking about Gibbs White, the deal perhaps being off. I don't think that's true. I think that's all smoke from Nottingham Forest side trying to get more money out of Spurs, which now this is definitely a biased take, but for me, that just sounds like Marinakis doing what he does, and like he gets away with that type of stuff in like the Greek league and whatever. He's not going to fucking big dick Tottenham Hotspur and Daniel Levy. It's just not going to happen. Like Daniel Levy will handle that business. I don't like Daniel Levy for some things, but when it comes to negotiations and transfers, like he knows what he's doing. Oh boy, what did I just do? Okay, so we will move on. Oh, also last thing, Tyler. John said Tyler probably on cloud 9 with Woody Johnson over the last few days. Now, why is that? Is that because he might get out of the New York Jets?
No, it's not that good. But they signed Garrett Wilson to a 4-year extension, who's arguably one of the best wide receivers in football.
Okay, fair enough. They're still the Jets, though. They're going to stink.
Yes.
We will move on to stoppage time where, oh, boys and girls, the hat is back on. We can't lose. We cannot lose. The only time we didn't win this week was when they postponed the game. My Sunday best bet was postponed to Monday. There was a Bolivian first division game between San Antonio Bulo and Bolivar. It got postponed to Monday, and then it got just postponed to God knows when. So we only had 4. Usually do 5 aside. We only had 4 this week. So apologies. We did go 4 for 4, and that means we are 13 for our last 14. We are cooking with thermonuclear gas again. It feels good. So get on the train. Here we go. Overtrain 5 aside, 1 a day, Wednesday through Sunday. Hopefully we'll get this episode out early because my Wednesday pick is tonight. And so we'll give people a little extra walking around cash. Wednesday's pick will be from Liga MX, Santos and Toluca. Thursday, we're going to the Conference League qualifying where HJK, which I believe is a Finnish team, is playing NSI Runavik, which I believe is a Faroe Islands team. So you know there's going to be a lot of goals there. Friday, we're going to the Danish First Division. The Danish League is back. I love the Danish League, the Danish Super League. I'm going to break my own rule here. I usually wait at least a week, maybe 2, before I start betting on leagues, so I at least get a little sense of how teams are actually going to play. But this matchup between Viborg and Copenhagen is perfect. You got Viborg at home, Copenhagen on the road. Copenhagen, they're just probably going to be the better team. Viborg, usually a ton of goals. So I like this matchup. I'm breaking my rule. Viborg, Copenhagen Friday. Saturday, we're going to MLS, Portland, and Minnesota United. Tyler Terrance's own Minnesota United. And then Sunday, we are going to the Swedish First Division where Sirius is hosting IFK Göteborg. And there you go. 5 aside. Let's go. What is it? 18 for 19. That feels real nice. Now, Tyler, what do you got for us on Ivan Toney's best bet?
I'll roll with you, and then I'll throw in obviously a second game to make it a true Tyler's the Terror parlay, and that will be my game that I'm calling Atlanta and Charlotte. I think it's 2 bad defenses and 2 teams that need wins, and I think that there's going to be goals in that game too. So parlay, Portland, Minnesota, Atlanta, Charlotte. I don't know what that comes out to, but that's my over parlay for the weekend.
Oh, I love it. Goals. Now, from goals to goas, we are on to everybody's favorite segment. I have a list here that I won't go fully through because Tyler always gets mad at me when I do that. But Tyler, I'll let you go first on the goas. What do you got for us?
All right, so I have one, John Duran. You might remember him as a player who starred for the Chicago Fire at 18 years old, and everybody thought that he was really good, super excited, sold in Aston Villa for around 18.5 million, started scoring bangers left and right. Oh my God, this kid's amazing. What a great signing by the Fire. What a great transaction. Okay, now he goes over to Saudi for big money. Are we going to ever hear from him again? Yes, you are, because he's already pissed off everybody in Saudi. They sent him to Fenerbahce to go be with one Jose Mourinho. And John Duran decides not to show up for the first day of training. So, yeah, I told all of you a long time ago that this man was a head case. And I don't know if you guys didn't want to believe me or if I didn't want to believe myself or if it's just sort of a shame. But this dude he just can't get his shit correct. And it's such a waste of talent because he is dynamite. And it's really unfortunate. He and Gio Reyna they need to have coming together moment with Jesus or something. And I'm Jewish, so I don't even know why I'm saying that. But anyway, with Moses, with whoever, because they need to sort it out. But yeah, there you go.
Soccer Jesus. They'll be coming
Soccer
together
Jesus.
with soccer. They do need an intervention. Good shout. And by the way, John in the Discord chat was begging for that one. So well done to John.
I didn't even see it. I can't now, on my phone. I can't see it. Yeah.
So shout out John and Tyler. You guys are you're sharing the same brain. Now GOAWs. I got a couple here. I was going to talk about Cole Palmer and his just utter confusion and frustration and contempt for the fact that he got boxed out of the trophy lift. But we've already talked about that. I was gonna sort of at least touch on Lamine Yamal's 18th birthday. We touched on that. Just an insane situation. I do want to get your thoughts quickly, though, Tyler. So for anybody who somehow doesn't know what's going on, Lamine Yamal had an 18th birthday. And this thing was, you talk about over the top birthdays. This is about as over the top as it gets. He booked some little people and caused a whole bunch of, actually he might be getting sued because of it. He had people who were reaching out to influencers, specifically blonde ones with certain specifications in their chesticle region that it sounds like they weren't allowed to have their phones there. So some of them were, mad on Instagram. But the party itself was just this insane, huge bash. And I have nothing against that. It was a little much, I thought. They came out with like a highlight reel of it within, 12 hours. Which was just, highly stylized and all that. It was a great highlight reel. I'll give him credit on that. Like, he's 18. He's got the world at his feet. He could go do anything in the soccer world at the moment. And I'm getting just a little worried that, there's different ways you can go with your career. You can go a Messi Ronaldo route, and you could just be completely married and committed to the game and just have an insane career, but maybe not really enjoy your life quite as much. Or there's the other side. There's so many guys that have gone the other way and just, had too much fun. I know a lot of people would immediately think of like Neymar as a guy that sort of falls in that category. Let me get your thoughts, Tyler. Do you think Lamine Yamal is there a risk that he's going a little too far? Like, I don't want to bash anybody for just enjoying their life and having some fun and all that. Are you a little worried that maybe as an 18-year-old millionaire, he's just going a little bit too close to the sun?
Yeah, of course there's the worry, but you just have to hope that he has enough people in his camp who are going to sort of be able to reel him in, right? Like, there's only so many athletes where you can look at their body of work both on and off the field and be like, wow, this dude didn't miss. I think LeBron and Messi are really the only two. Like, Ronaldo's had a couple of issues here and there. LeBron's never had a problem. Messi never had a problem. Like, Lamine Yamal at 16 years old was getting more playing time, scoring more goals in bigger games, in bigger moments than Messi was. What did we expect was going to happen? I mean, like, these things are so difficult to navigate as a teenage kid because you're not like your peers. Like, you are not a 31-year-old, 32-year-old with a family and with obligations and with wisdom. But you're also not like the people who are your own age and who are still grinding their way through high school and still being morons, but don't have the public eyes zeroed in on them 24/7. You are your own breed of human being. Is he going to slip up and make some mistakes? Sure. And the other thing too about Messi is that he is a diehard introvert. Anybody who like sort of has been paying attention to what his personality is, he loves to spend time with his family. He's not super outgoing. He kind of keeps to himself. He's locked into what he's doing all the time. Lamine Yamal is not like that. He likes to dance. He likes to showboat a little bit. He's got some flair. And with that comes a little bit of a taste for some of the naughtiness that life has to offer. And clearly his 18th birthday was indicative of that. So I'm concerned too, but at the same time, like, what do you expect from a kid who has had it all, arguably, outside of winning a Champions League and a World Cup before the age of 18? You know, it's difficult.
Yeah. And I think it's actually even harder to navigate now when you have this, first of all, cameras are everywhere. I heard a story about Messi when Barcelona came to Seattle, and they were in Seattle, and Messi was running around a hotel, perhaps slightly inebriated, like having a little fun, just kind of the stuff that, a lot of people were doing when they were 18, 19, 20, 21. I heard a story, and this was honestly 15 years ago that I heard this story. I've never heard anything about that like that since. So either that was a lie or it didn't actually happen, or perhaps, he just sort of locked it down, whatever. In this day and age, that incident, if it actually even happened, would have been on, camera by however many people and been out there in the world. It is so hard in this day and age to navigate the situation that Lamine Yamal is in at the moment. So, I think the fact that he's handling it as well as he is so far is a testament to him. But man, there's a lot of grenades. There's a lot of pitfalls that he still needs to get past. And I do think that I'm sort of more on the. I don't know if I'm an introvert, but I'm not the type that really wants to be on social media and all that. So like that rubs me a little weird, but I don't know. I feel like it's just sort of the way that the world has gone and left me behind at this moment. So I'm not gonna bash him for it. I do think he needs to lock in a little bit, lock in just a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna give those. We really I diverted the conversation. So quickly on the actual goals, though, I got two honorable mentions. Carlo Ancelotti, who was sentenced to a year in jail in Spain. It's like if you play in Spain, it's like a badge of honor. You have to get at least 1 year, ideally multiple years, to sort of get your street cred up. And this is for tax evasion because everybody does this. They get their name and likeness or whatever money, and then they don't pay taxes on it, and then they get caught. So that's Carlo Ancelotti. He's probably not going to serve a day. He'll pay some money and get out of it. Also, by the way, he's in Brazil. Olivia Smith, on the women's soccer side, she is the first £1 million transfer ever. She's moving from Liverpool to Arsenal for £1 million. Now, it's an important distinction here. We actually had the first $1 million transfer. $1 million transfer was earlier this year when Naomi Germa moved from Chelsea to San Diego. So American actually set that record, but the £1 million record was just set. Olivia Smith, first female transfer over $1 million. But my actual goal goes to Tobin Heath. A true baller, a U.S. women's national team legend, and one half of the perhaps quietest but probably realest power couple in the soccer world between her and Kristen Press. Tobin Heath in her sort of prime, like I know people probably, they haven't seen her play in a couple years at this point, and so younger fans, they probably haven't seen her really ball out. But man, 10 years ago, she was a problem. She was the type of a person that you just would not want to play on like a small-sided field or just get stuck up against one-on-one. Like she would just make you look like a fool. She was a baller, and she called it quits. She is retiring, and she did it in such a great way too. Kristen Press just basically said, my other half is retiring. She's done. That's it. It's just so low key, and it was perfect for them. So shout out to Tobin Heath on a great career. And that's all we got, everybody. Sorry for technical difficulties. We will actually have to have a conversation with the Minneapolis area Wi-Fi organizations. But Tyler, thank you. Owen, great to have you. And we will see you guys next week, same time, same place. And we'll be bigger and better and faster and stronger. See ya.